Welcome everyone to the ZKsync proposal review call. I'm really excited to see everybody's faces again after a big break, or a bit of a break over the holidays and the beginning of the year. I hope everybody's 2026 is off to a great start so far. We have a really packed agenda today, so I'm excited to see so many folks here. We have quite a few. We have a exciting announcement, or a few exciting announcements to share, as well as 3 new TPP drafts that were posted on the forum this week to discuss. So let's dive in. Before we dive in to the proposal drafts that were shared on the forum, I actually wanted to kick off the call with an update from the Tally team in regards to the ZKnomics staking pilot program. A lot of you delegates will remember that TPP-12 passed in October of last year, and the season 1 of this pilot program is finally going to start our launch on Monday. So we have Cliff and Rolf from the Tally team joining us today to say a few words about the launch of season 1, and also share a few resources and ways to prepare for season 1. Cliff, I'll pass it off to you.
Thanks, Shelby. Hey everyone, Happy New Year. And wanted to kind of share a couple of thoughts on the staking pilot going live next Monday. So as Shelby mentioned, this has been pretty long time coming. TPP-12 passed back in October, and we spent the last 3.5 months or so finalizing infrastructure, conducting audits, and getting everything ready for a smooth launch. And really happy that we're ready to go live next Monday. So a quick refresher on what season 1 looks like. This is going to be a 3-month staking pilot where ZK token holders can stake their tokens. They'll get their voting power to active governance participants and then earn rewards in return. So there are 2 core objectives to this pilot. So first, we're testing staking infrastructure in preparation for ZKsync's decentralized sequencer, which is planned later for this year. The contracts we're deploying now are going to be forward compatible. So what we're building today is not just a one-off. It's going to be infrastructure that can be reused down the line. And second objective for this pilot is we want to increase active delegated voting power to strengthen governance reliability. So by tying rewards to active delegation, I think we are creating a direct incentive for token holders to support delegates who actually show up and vote, which is really important. I want to take a moment to talk about infrastructure and Tally's role in making that happen. So the staking pilot is actually built on Tally's Unistaker contract system. These are audited, battle-tested contracts. They've been through multiple audits, including ones with Sherlock, with Offbeat Security, and all of those audit reports are actually publicly available on GitHub for anyone who wants to dig into the details. We are also hosting, we as in Tally, we are also hosting the staking interface, and you can actually access that at vote.zknation.io, which is the governance application that everyone's familiar with. There's actually a stake tab right at the top. So once you click that, you'll be directed to the staking interface, and then it's going to be really intuitive. It shows you exactly how you can stake, or for the matter, unstake your tokens and then claim a delegate, and then claim your rewards and manage your delegations from there. So yeah, that's on. Oh, one last point. The contracts were designed from the start to be upgradable and forward compatible, again, with ZKsync's decentralized sequencing architecture. So again, what we're deploying isn't just something that will be thrown away down the line. It's going to be, in our opinion, foundational for future token utility as the protocol kind of matures. So some details around season 1. There's going to be 10 million ZK that will be distributed over a 3-month season. Participation cap, we're looking at 400 million ZK stake. Specifically on the rewards, it's going to start at 3% annualized once we launch on Monday. Then each week, if we haven't hit the 400 million cap, we can then increase the reward rate by up to 1%. And the maximum APR for season 1 is going to be capped at 10%. So if participation is kind of slow to ramp up, then early stakers would benefit from higher rates. And as more people join the program as we approach the cap, then rates kind of stabilize. Something important to note, there isn't a lockup period, so you can stake, unstake, or change your delegation at any time. So on how to participate, you can actually stake and delegate at the moment, so you're well primed for Monday to kick off. So head to the governance application at vote.zknation.io, and then head to the staking tab. You can delegate and stake right now to prepare for rewards when they go live on Monday. And remember, to be eligible for rewards, you need to actually delegate to an active participant or active delegate. And that is defined by someone who has voted in at least 2 of the last 5 governance proposals. Active delegates are clearly marked on the Tally interface with an active tag, so it's really easy to kind of find them. So gone on for quite a bit now, but before I wrap up, I want to make sure that everyone knows about the resources that we've put together on the forum. So for starters, we've created a dedicated subcategory for the staking pilot, and there are a few key posts that you could bookmark. So first, we have the staking pilot FAQ. Believe that is pinned. Thanks, Shelby. This is kind of like the go-to resource for everything you need to know about the pilot program, including eligibility requirements, how rewards are calculated, how to stake and unstake, what happens if your delegate becomes inactive, and what to expect in season 2. So if you have a question around like how the program works, would encourage you to kind of start there. It also includes a video walkthrough of the staking interface, so you can see exactly how the delegate to stake works before you jump in. Second, we have also set up a ZKnomics staking pilot interface support thread. So Shelby, if you don't mind just going to that resource real quick. So this is going to act as a support channel. So if you run into any issues with the staking interface, whether it's a bug or a transaction that didn't go through or anything that's just confusing, or a question that isn't addressed on the FAQ, post it there, and we'll work with ZKsync Association to address it in the most timely fashion possible. So for questions that aren't covered in the FAQ, if it's something that's really valid, then we'll add them into the FAQs. And if you want, broader context on first principles around like why ZKnomics staking in the first place, would encourage you guys to read up Omar's post, I believe, on ZKnomics roadmap's vision. That was posted last June. So that kind of articulates the long-term vision, like how staking kind of fits into protocol revenue and then decentralized sequencing and the overall ZKnomics framework. So all of this are linked in the forum's subcategory, so they're going to be easy to find. So that's kind of like the overview. We're really excited to get this live and going. Pilot's ultimately about learning, testing the infrastructure, and understanding participation dynamics. And hopefully we can refine the model for future seasons and set up a good foundation for decentralized sequencing. So that's it, everyone. Happy to take any questions.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Cliff. I also wanted to give a chance also because we're tight on time, but and there's a really wonderful detailed FAQ that Tally prepared for everyone. Would love to give a chance to Rolf and also invite Stephen from the Matter Labs team to come on and say a few words about the program as well, if there's anything to add.
Yeah, the one thing I would add is that I know we have a lot of delegates on the call. So make sure you understand how this flow works from the staker's perspective, because a lot of new token holders and new stakers will be picking a new delegate, or existing token holders might be checking in on their delegate as this program launches. So I suggest making sure your profile is updated and reading a bit about the activity and eligibility requirements that stakers will be checking if their delegate is active. So the definition of active for this program is a delegate is active if they have voted on 2 of the most recent 5 proposals.
Hi, everyone. Stephen from Matter Labs here. So yeah, I don't have too much to add other than we're super happy and excited to see this come to life. And thank you, Shelby and ZKsync Association and Rolf and Cliff and all the guys at Tally for building this out. I think it's going to be something that the community has wanted for a long time. And it's also something that is critical for us to test. Like, this is a pilot program, right? So We want to test this out so that we can understand how all of these mechanics work, so that it plays an integral role in as we work on pushing out ZKnomics over the next few months. We're currently working on it, and as you all know, we've talked about ZKnomics a lot, but it's going to be updating essentially how the protocol operates. So one of the big points of ZKnomics is that Matter Labs generates revenue on-chain and off-chain. We use that revenue to buy back ZK token, and one of the main features of buying back the ZK token is that it will reward stakers. Since we are a governance token, and it's not like a proof of stake type token, after discussing with Rally, we felt like this is a great opportunity to help expand the security of governance, get more people involved in governance, and we're super excited to see how the pilot program turns out. And if we're able to hit these caps of like season 1, we have 400 million additional stake, then it's great for all of us and for you guys as well, because we'll have a lot more participation in governance, and that's how the program and protocol operates. So super excited to get this started, and we're happy to answer any questions, and Tally has been doing a great job with the facts. Dive into the forum if you have any questions or anything like that. And yeah, more good stuff to come. Starts on Monday, so should be good.
Great, awesome. Yeah, Ivy.
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Thank you. Super excited as well to see this roll through. And actually, I had just one comment I've been asking Shelby, a UI thing, which at this point might be minor, but some of the delegate profiles in Tally show a legend that goes not eligible for free delegation, which I'm thinking of it's something the Tally UI has or something, and it might be minor, delegation costs might be super low, but I'm thinking it might be misleading. Just, the launch of the program, you have stakers, trying to delegate, and just, the legend shows up and whatnot. So just a small piece of feedback there. I know you guys are probably looking into it, but yeah, just wanted to say that.
Yeah, thanks for flagging that. The Tally UI, I'll make sure that we turn on free delegation for as many delegators as we can ahead of this program. The main restriction is we just don't want it to be possible for someone to delegate infinitely and drain the gas budget for delegation, but we'll revisit it to make sure it is permissive as can be ahead of this.
It's an open project we've been discussing with Tally, but the priority has been getting staking pilot ready for launch this week. So apologies for the delay there, but we'll keep you folks updated. Okay, just for the sake, thanks Ivy. For the sake of time, we're going to move on to the proposal review portion of the proposal review call. So thank you, Tally, Ralph, and Cliff for joining and providing some information about season 1 launch, and Stephen for providing some context just in kind of the longer term context with decentralized sequencer upcoming as well from the Matter Lab side. Great. Then to move on to the next portion of the call, we have 3 new proposal TPPs that were submitted on the forum this week. To kick off this portion, we are going to start with the ZKsync Association donation proposal. And so this proposal is a donation request to support ZKsync Association's purpose as a nonprofit issuer of the ZK token and also the steward of ZKsync governance. The proposal was posted yesterday and has already gotten quite a bit of questions and comments on it, which we'll address some of those today. There's also a written response posted earlier today as well. But today we have Thomas joining us, who is one of the directors of the ZKsync Association. He's here to provide a little bit more context around the purpose and obligations of the ZKsync Association as a legal entity, and also go into a little bit more detail as to why this proposal is framed as a donation, which, is a little different than what we typically see in other proposals here as well. So I'm going to pass the mic over, but there's a reason for that. I'm going to pass the mic over now to Thomas to take it away.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Thomas. I am a director, as Shelby introduced me, at the ZKsync Association, and also a lawyer specialized in regulatory law, especially also in the crypto space. Yeah, for the donation proposal, as Shelby stated, we already addressed some of your questions and we know where this is coming from. And I'm here to explain to you the legal background for this wording that might be a bit untypical compared to what you've seen in other token programs. First of all, the thing is that we are a non-profit association, and by law, this means that we are funded by donations, and donations has a specific legal character that cannot be associated with any kind of goals or targets that are in exchange for this funding, that are reached in exchange for this funding. So that doesn't mean we can use the funds however we want. It is definitely, we are incorporated. We're not a typical DAO. We're here in Austria, incorporated as a non-profit association, and are bound by our articles of association to only use funds in alignment with these articles of association. So what we do, or what we did, you can see it in our report that we published at the end of last year, to see what we have been done previously in the past 2 years since inception. Yeah, happy to take all our questions about the proposal in detail. The expenditures, yeah, hi Anil. The expenditures, we tried to outline this also in the forum post, where we presented you with 2 line items on how funds are used. And this is the most is for entity compliance and operation. We are a MiCA issuer. We are under regulation under the European Markets and Crypto Assets Regulation, and also the publisher of a white paper. In this position, there is not only costs associated with running, but also employee costs, director costs, and also which are just required to run such an operation, and that concerns also advice for legal, for regulatory purposes, etc. The second line item is for education and events. As you can see, we also have it in our articles of association to promote the ZKsync ecosystem, which we have been doing for the past year as well. So yeah, that's about the split that we gave. Yes,
I guess before we go into those questions, I did just want to highlight this post that was posted in response to a lot of the questions that we've seen over the last 24 hours today. I think the main confusion that seems to be around this proposal, or maybe misconception, is around the use of the word donation and why it's necessary for that phrasing or that framing to be used. This question, or this response, kind of outlines that. Thomas also mentioned kind of the key points there, but just as a legal entity in Austria, there are rules that need to be followed in order to remain compliant and keep the nonprofit status that the association has.
Exactly. Thank you, Shelby.
Call that out too. Great. Okay, let's open it up for questions. I believe, was it Damasia who had their hand up first?
Yeah, thank you very much, Shelby. Pleasure to meet you, Thomas. Yeah, I have a question. I posted it already on the forum, but I want to ask it again. I want to ask about the budget specifically, because the request is to finance $1.6 million. And you basically covered what you plan to spend the money for, but we would love to see the detailed breakdown. I don't want to go into deep details because I understand there are some confidential info, but at least high-level overview of how the $1.6 million will be spent will be a good point for all delegates to make a decision during the voting.
Yes, and we tried to give you that information with the forum posts. And as you correctly stated, we are under obligations of confidentiality in some aspects. What we have written in the forum post, these are all essential items to keep the operations of the association going. Us as the issuer, also, we are running a protocol is just quite complex, and we are trying as best as we can to publicly share the information that we can share. But what I can also tell you is that if you read the Articles of Association, we as directors are bound by this. We cannot spend money as we please. Everything needs to be for the promotion of the ZKsync ecosystem. And we try to follow your request, which is understandable to the extent that we can, based on the applicable law. If we can take this discussion also offline, or we need to get back to see whether we can provide you with a bit more transparency there. But we are bound by our confidentiality obligation for the most part. But as I said, it's not a typical DAO. We are incorporated in Austria, and we have a very strict set of rules that applies to us also as directors to only use the funds to promote the ZKsync ecosystem. And what you can see if you read the report that we published, we did quite a lot to do so in our view.
Any other questions? Rafa.
Yes, sir.
Hey guys, I just want to chime in here. I've been a little bit out for a couple months as I have a new baby, but one thing that's not necessarily commonly understood is you as an organization, you can't just share like contracts of like service providers and price points and employee contracts and such like that. So there's only a specific level of detail which can be provided publicly without basically coming under legal constraints from a privacy aspect. The donation request here is basically this is the cost for essential operations of the association. There is no like fluff here per se. So the best way to think about this is you can take a look at the 1-year report. And you can take a look at ZK's alignment and regulatory alignment, and that is the purpose and the means of the association. And that's what the donation is for. Unfortunately, we can look internally and we can look for legal counsel if financial statements can be shared. But the reality is, once you de-anonymize like service provider contracts, you're basically breaking privacy requirements.
Okay, Anil, I can take your question as regards to.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly. We are currently 2 directors and have 4 team members. But we also are dependent on external contractors that we also need to fund and pay. And this can be website design or data analytics. But basically the money will only be spent for these purposes. And yeah, happy to have given you a bit more detail on the staffing of the association.
Any other questions? Rafa? Unless I was...
Oh, sorry. My hand is up, but it's not supposed to be.
Great.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Rafa made a good point in the chat that we are in a regulated environment, so legal costs is a significant factor also for in this position. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Hey guys, hello. I was reading the proposal, and something that I don't have very clear is about the Security Council role in this proposal. According with it, they have the power to stop any payment of the cap minter, right? But is there any criteria associated to it? Like which is going to be like a trigger to stop any payment or any mint in this case?
Yeah, so I can take this. Hi, it's Felicia. So what happens is almost, I think the threshold is basically 1. So every time a single ZK token is minted from a governance-related contract, such as any of the cat minters that are approved by governance, the Security Council gets an alert and follows up to confirm literally within minutes whether it is an expected and authorized mint. And so the purpose of having the Security Council in this role is that if there is kind of a hostile or malicious minting of any tokens, because for whatever reason, anyone is compromised who is able to mint from these or have any roles related to these cat minters, then the Security Council can take action immediately. So it's kind of just like one of the aspects of their monitoring and responsiveness as the Security Council.
Yeah, and this is actually, if you look at all of the other currently live and active token programs right now, the ZKsync Security Council has a pauser role on all of the parent cat minters for all of the live programs. It's just an extra security measure.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so for the sake of time, we have 2 other proposals to get through, as well as a few community updates. So if I'm going to then we'll close questions for this proposal right now, but please, if you have any more, please go to the forum and share them there. And we'll try to get responses out to folks as soon as possible. Just to move on though, up next we have the ZKsync Audit Reimbursement Program 2026, or ZARP V2. This proposal came from the ZKsync Security Council. Many of you delegates remember the original ZARP.
I can talk about this. What are you doing?
Yeah, I was just gonna call out like originals.
I can
fast. Yeah,
I know, but I can run through this.
Sure, go for it, Alicia.
So hi, so this is ZARP V2, and the first version of ZARP was passed in May last year with TPP-3, and it had 2 components, effectively like a forward-looking component and a retroactive component, because there were a lot of protocol upgrades shipped in the first quarter of 2025. And overall, the program was actually extremely successful at the kind of purpose, which was to reimburse audit costs related to protocol upgrades that were passed as zips. So that was quite a specific purpose and kind of scope for audit reimbursement. And ZARP V2 for 2026 is really just a follow-on from that ZARP V1 proposal. There are a few changes. If you can just scroll down to, I think the summary will have, or the abstract will have the 3 components. Yeah. Okay, so the 3 components of this proposal that delegates are approving, if they choose to vote in favor of ZARP V2, are a ZARP 2026 cat minter valued at $3 million US. So last year, the total value for 2025 was $5 million US. And so this is a reduction in the amount of funding for the current year. This was kind of, the Security Council liaised with the Meta Labs protocol and security team to confirm kind of what their numbers were looking like, and that's where this comes from. And then the second component is the ZARP 2025 retro cat minter, and this amount is for audit reimbursements that weren't claimed with ZIP 13. Just because of the timing, it didn't quite work, but it was, and it was I don't know if it's misleadingly, but it looked like a really simple zip, which was related to assigning, ZIP 13, adding a ZKsync OS CTM, which is a chain type manager. So there were just over $1 million worth of audits related to that specific proposal that weren't the kind of ZARP reimbursement wasn't requested with that ZIP, so that's what this is. And then the other thing just on that in terms of the numbers is I will maybe post in the forum, but the amount that wasn't utilized in ZARP V1 that was like approved for 2025 is effectively or comparable to the number that is being claimed retroactively. So the thing that I would just say is like the retro cap minter isn't like another allocation. It's really just reviving the 2025 allocation that wasn't claimed because those cap minters expired on the 31st of January. And then the third thing, you can just like stay on the abstract maybe. Oh, or you can scroll down to number 3. We'll speak. Yeah. Okay, so the third thing is just to extend the scope or broaden the scope of what audit and competition and security costs are able to be claimed under ZARP, just because there are kind of just like with a growing number of features and products with ZKsync, not everything will be put through kind of a token assembly approved upgrade, but there are elements of ZKsync that are still extremely critical to the protocol. So that is kind of like the third component of what delegates will be voting in favor of with this proposal. Okay, that's my couple of minute spiel. I'm just going to look at the chat for questions, but also please put your hand up.
Any questions for Alicia on ZARP V2? Oh, actually, I have one. Alicia, are you planning to, or the plan I thought originally was also to post a little bit of like a kind of ZARP V1 report at some point, just explaining how much has been minted or really showing how much wasn't minted from the original program, and or like, yeah, just kind of a budget breakdown of what was actually used in ZARP V1. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, that will, oh, wait, am I on mute? Oh, no. That is the plan. I was actually just looking for the Google Sheet now, but I couldn't find it in my docs, but that will be posted for sure before the proposal goes on train. But I can tell you that it was 100% of the retro cat minter for ZARP V1, and I think about 10.6 million of the kind of current year amount, and then yeah, the rest, I think there's only a 21% utilization rate on the current year cat minter. So yeah, that kind of gives you a little bit of context.
Great. Okay, any questions? ZARP V2? Yeah, Manuel?
Hey, I would like to know more context about the 1.1 million allocated that is planned to be allocated to Matter Labs regarding to the ZIP 13, if I remember well. It's like this cap minter will be one time according with the proposal, and this is planned to cover only that proposal.
Correct. Just because with that proposal, they didn't claim. Oh my gosh, sorry guys, it's so early for me and my throat is not handling it. Okay, so they didn't claim the audit reimbursement with ZIP 13. And so this amount is a one-time cap minter for an amount that correlates to the audit and security costs associated with that ZIP.
Can you say a little bit more? Maybe I think the question is maybe in regards to the amount specifically. Alicia, can you remind me what was and why it had such high audit costs affiliated with it?
I mean, it's ZKsync OS was like shipping. That was a really big deal. I don't know if Stephen wants to talk about it, but and we can get someone from the protocol team to weigh in on the forum as well. But the number that is claimed in that retro cap minter is dictated by the total number of audits and competitions related to that ZIP. So it's not pulled out of thin air. It's based on invoices that the Security Council will have to review and approve in order for that to kind of progress to be minted. So that means that Matter Labs incurred that amount of expense in passing that ZIP. Does that help, Miguel?
Yep. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Great. Okay, for the sake of time, unfortunately, if there's no other really important question, I would suggest we move on to the bug bounty program. Alicia?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Great. Okay. So bug bounty, Immunify bug bounty program is the third and final TPP draft to review today, and then we have some community updates.
Well, I wonder if, Shelby, can you just also in the chat post the link to the Immunify page for ZKsync era? I have it somewhere, but also so many tabs open. Okay, so the ZKsync Immunify bug bounty program or funding is to fund the bug bounty that is currently active and has been active on Immunify, which is a kind of bug bounty platform that is highly regarded and widely adopted throughout crypto. And currently, Meta Labs has been funding the bug bounty, and so the purpose is to the token assembly to approve for effectively like governance funds to be used to fund the bug bounty. And again, if you just scroll down to the, I think the abstract maybe. Yeah. Okay, so there are two components, which is like 2026 costs going forward, and then the reimbursement of historical bug bounty payouts made by Meta Labs in 2025. And again, just kind of reiterating that point that Manuel touched on, which is that the retro amount will be confirmed and reviewed based on actual payouts. So it'll be, the numbers will be provided by the finance team at Meta Labs to the Security Council, who will kind of review everything and confirm that these costs have been paid out and all sort of stuff. And then the 2026 costs, so the current value of the program is 1.1 million in total, I think. And then the request is actually 1.6, you'll notice, and this is to reflect some payouts that are already due in January and I guess the start of February. And this relates, for example, to an emergency upgrade that was carried out last week in response to bug bounty submissions that came in. And I think Meta Labs will be posting an update about that probably in the next week. So that's where the costs come from, but you'll see on the Immunify page. Maybe can you share like the page just as a visual so people have like a good understanding? Awesome. Yeah, so this is the page, and then the goal is basically for the Security Council to kind of manage and be like the oversight for the Immunify program, and for Meta Labs to kind of continue being a day-to-day manager of that program, but with Security Council oversight related to the funds. Questions?
Alicia, one note is as Demacia mentioned in the chat, I think it's important to differentiate between the role of the Security Council versus what audits actually do and bug bounties. These are different types of security activities. The Security Council is not responsible for doing audits on the protocol upgrade code. They're looking at critical flaws that might compromise the ecosystem at the moment of implementation, while audits and work during the development process. So just for folks who need a little bit more context, I would recommend looking into it a little bit and understanding the different periods. There's security at different levels of the life cycle of protocol development and deployment, and it's important to differentiate between them.
Yeah, I would also say, related to the points of if you have bug bounties, why do you need audits? If you have audits, why do you need Security Council? The idea is that when it comes to security in crypto, which in my personal opinion is the #1 priority of a protocol is protocol security, that there it's not just kind of like to pick a single approach, it's to have a layered approach kind of within the funding resources available that makes sense, just because once that trust is broken, it's very, very difficult to recover. And I would also add that the complexity of ZK in general, compared to like a ZK system, this is like a roll-up system, it feels to me as an observer of this kind of security and protocol team like much more complicated. And I think security researchers will also attest to this. And that's also why these costs, I would say, are at the numbers that they're at, to reflect the complexity involved in this protocol. Chris?
Also, maybe let me add to this from our perspective, from like my personal perspective, and also our perspective as L2Beat. The way we look into it is Security Council is checking whether whatever is being implemented is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So whether it's not doing anything malicious, whether it's not doing anything shady, whether it's not doing anything that is risky to the protocol. But the security audits, they actually audit whether the code doesn't have bugs. So both are needed because if you want to do something malicious, the audit will only tell you if it will do it properly, actually. It will never assess any legitimacy aspects of the code. It just will tell you whether the code works. And the Security Council will actually verify whether the code should be run in the first place. But they do not audit the code. It's not their competence, and also not their priority. That's why we need both at the same time.
Oh, can I just add on to that and just say, with the ZKsync Security Council in particular, even though with many security councils across Ethereum, there is like a broad range of council members and their expertise. With ZKsync, all of the Security Council members, I would say, like with the exception of Matter Labs, do have deep expertise in like audit and security research. And so, I think we're in like the particularly fortunate position that the ZKsync Security Council has that like additional level of expertise in this area. And so when they review a zip, for example, they are reviewing like the audit report along with the actual upgrade itself. But yeah, like Chris said, it's kind of they're looking at the upgrade from a different angle. I guess like a question for Demacia is, if governance funds aren't expected to cover security expenses, where are they meant to come? Like, where are those funds meant to come from, or do we just not fund it? Demacia?
Could you please repeat the question?
I just said, if kind of governance approved tokens aren't intended to fund the security expense for a protocol, where do you, like, what's the alternative? Is it to not fund the expense, or is it to, like, what alternative paths do you think there are for funding?
I never said we need an alternative. I'm just asking to better understand how things work. Because like, to my mind, I think that the Security Council is something we definitely don't need at this stage of the development, as the protocol is hardly centralized. Everything is controlled by Matter Labs, and the token holders paid $1.2 million a year for the organization. We don't actually need at this moment. However, the idea of the Security Council is great, but I think it should be we should return to this conversation when we hit at least stage 1. And why do I think this way? We saw the great reaction when the real security incident happened with the token. I understand that everyone says that token was not under Security Council management back then, but it's not how it's supposed to work. If there is a group of people or an organization that is responsible for the security, and when everyone in Twitter was screaming about the hack, like it's their duty to react, and they didn't. And the token holders spent $1.2 million a year for that. And that's why I think probably we should talk about it more.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. The Security Council wasn't monitoring token minting at that point in time in May last year. And part of that reason was because of effectively like the bare bones budgeting of and funding of the Security Council. And then you'll note that later, I think it was in July and August, the Security Council was funded by the Token Assembly and then was able to implement Hypernative as like a monitoring tool. And so, yeah, you can kind of see actually that's maybe like a good example of what you're able to do with adequate funding in the realm of security and how that changes things. But I guess maybe, Chris, do you have a take on we don't need a Security Council until stage 1, which hopefully, by the way, will be end of Q1 this year?
I don't want to speak publicly as LTB on this matter at this point.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that because I don't want, I would need to analyze it in order to have a proper statement. However, intuitively, I believe that we do need Security Council, but I do understand the Macius points. Therefore, I don't want to comment straight away. I would need to think about it.
Yeah, I don't know if Steven's still on this call, by the way, but I think he mentioned earlier that decentralized sequencer is being prioritized to be deployed early this year. So just another piece of context where, yeah, the point where maybe it's protocol or there's maybe less need for one right now, but soon there will be need for one with the launch of the decentralized sequencer. And that's...
I will also just push back on the comment that ZKsync is completely centralized by Meta Labs. Like, there's no version of a protocol upgrade, regular or emergency, that can be passed unilaterally by Meta Labs. They would, in every circumstance, need either the Security Council or the Guardians for a regular upgrade, or the Security Council, Guardians, and Foundation in order to cast an emergency upgrade. So that's kind of like the base level of decentralization, and I just kind of want to debunk that statement. I don't know if you ever reply to that.
I also...
not you, just Demetria.
Yeah, I want to just also, for the sake of time, because we're already going to be running over, folks, I think this is a great discussion to continue. And I believe there was even maybe a thread or something already started on the forum to discuss this. So let's maybe move it there. Thank you to Thomas and also to Alicia for presenting and providing some context around these proposals or these new TPP drafts that have been posted on the forum this week. Please take, if you're a delegate, please take some time to review these and drop your comments and questions there. And yeah, we'll keep you updated on timelines for when these will be expected to go on chain. So the next topic, or the next kind of portion of this call, was to highlight a few updates in regards to live token programs. The staking announcement at the beginning of the staking pilot season 1 launch at the beginning of the call was one of them. Another one is in regards to the community activation program. So if you folks remember, the community activation program, or TPP-8, was passed last year, and it funds 2 things. One of them is kind of like a set of existing community initiatives that had provided ecosystem growth and marketing support to the ZKsync ecosystem. And the other one was an RFP pool kind of for some additional initiatives, community initiative requests from the foundation. In regards to the existing initiatives, there were 3 that were funded through that program. Season 1 for those initiatives is coming to a close at the end of February. And as a part of their reporting requirement and assessment for season 2 extension, they have posted reports on the forum outlining highlights from their contributions in season 1. I know there's a few representatives, a few reps from 2 of those initiatives on the call today. And I'd like to invite you folks, if you're still here, and I apologize for running a little over on time here, just to say just a few words in regards to some of the highlights from the last few months and the work you guys have been doing. I don't know, Pablo, if you're on the call still, if you want to say a few words about ZKsync Latam, and then we can have somebody from ZKnomics.
Yes. Hi, Shelby. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, this is Pablo from ZKsync Latam. So as Shelby was mentioning, we have been one of the first participants of the community activation program. And so far, part of the report we were sharing is these past 6 months, we were working towards adjusting a little bit towards what we saw ZKsync was doing in terms of being the bank stack, as it's called today, and working towards penetrating more the LATAM region for that, generating network connections, transitioning from what was pure community as we conceived it a year ago in the blockchain space towards what is more and more an enterprise vision now. And honestly, it's been quite successful. We have made real connections with institutions, with multilateral corporations that are meant to facilitate infrastructure and technology to different companies, banks, and type of institutions that we want to see adopting the ZKsync technology, creating the materials, creating the different stuff that is necessary in Spanish to do this. And now we are also did a little exercise to check the Brazil geography in Latam, which is always kind of a bubble because they speak a different language and have sort of a different culture than the rest of the region, and was very positive. So as a result, now we are entering a phase in which we're more aggressive going into Brazil and with very, very positive rewards, and there's a lot of gain for the entire ZKsync community. So very, very bullish, and very bullish particularly today, seeing what was happening with Italic Post, talking about the future of the whole space. So happy to see that we are actually been focusing on that, seeing the value of having a concrete value proposition, hearing firsthand from banks, from governments, from people who actually have to use the technology, what they think of it. And we are more of that for what we're looking for this year. Happy to take questions, of course.
Awesome. Thank you. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll have time, but if you do have questions or have comments, please go write them on this awesome forum post. Yeah, I, as you might find in here, was in attendance in a very silly little photo at one of the events for the ZKsync Latam events in Buenos Aires and DevConnect, which was lovely. But thank you for joining, Pablo, and for sharing. I wanted to pass the mic over to ZKsync, ZKnomics, to also share a few words of highlights for over the last 6 months in their report.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Shelby. Just wanted to share a couple of things, guys, to make it short. First of all, thank you for letting us take over the ZKsync social media and just like community overall, because in the last 6 months, in the last 5 months to be exact, we've been kind of helping out the Meta Labs team on the social media handling, creating visuals, images, videos, and all of that to make all the publications for all stuff updates around ZKsync developers, and also ZKsync Association. And overall, we've been kind of doubling on the engagement and reach in comparison to before we were handling the social media and community. And also, we've been kind of beating some of the competitors' engagement and reach and social media. Not really saying bad things about anyone, but we've kind of been beating the engagement of Canton and also StarkNet, so that's a good thing. And yeah, and overall, we've been actually proud to have some new types of announcement regarding all of the updates that are happening, such as like the weekly updates from ZKsync's Twitter account. And overall, yeah, we've been actually happy to support everything that's going on, especially in the community as well, and just like the RFP program that Max is handling right now, Mad Max, the big Zach. So yeah, that's it from us. Thank you guys for trusting us, and hopefully we can continue the growth of engagement and reach, and just like make ZKsync more known in the community of crypto.
Great. Thank you so much for joining and for providing those overviews. Unfortunately, the third initiative, a rep from the third initiative wasn't able to make it, but that was the online educators or like Discord mods. They also provided a report as well. You can go check all 3 of these reports out in the community activation program section on the forum, where you can find all information and resources about the community activation program as well. So thank you folks, to all of you for joining and providing just an overview of the reports here. Looking forward to see what would be to come in season 2. The last quick update I have in regards to live token programs is the Providium Roadshow program. So this program is also coming up on their first kind of reporting requirement, and that report will be live soon on the forum as well. Great. Okay, and since we're already over time, I won't go into the ZKsync 2026 roadmap post, but maybe we can take some time to talk about this on the next call. If you haven't read it yet, I would recommend going to take a look. It does a nice job of outlining kind of what the deliverables on the 2025 roadmap, and also highlights just the focus for 2026. It's probably not surprising here to anyone what the focus is if you've been following along here, but I think it does a nice job of highlighting that for everyone as well. So I'll drop the link if it will let me in the chat. But yeah, we unfortunately just for time, we won't be able to spend a lot of time on that. And we will close the call out here. Thank you everyone for joining and for being very patient with us in the very beginning. We will have the call notes and recording posted on the forum by tomorrow, as always, end of day. And we look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Shelby.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye-bye.